I just walked in.
Call the meeting to order. Clerk, please read the meeting notice.
Yes. Adequate notice of this regular meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 17, 2024, and was posted at the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-7.
Thank you. The audience, please stand. Council, stand and join. Pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilmember Bushieri. Here. Councilmember Di Benedetto.
Present.
Member Higgins.
Here.
Councilmember Sparta.
Present.
Duda.
Here. Owing to illness on both of the presenters, the presentation that had been scheduled on the scenic byway will be postponed to another date. Mayor, may we have your comments?
Apologize, give me 1 second. I did.
Don't know.
The other one. Well, thank you, Council President, the rest of the council. One of the many things that I want to just bring up today was this past Monday was Memorial Day. I'd like to share just some of the words I've spoken at the VFW on Memorial Day. So I think it's very important that this kind of information gets out about our future of what Memorial Day means. So Memorial Day was a holiday, and to some that marks the first day of summer. To some it means an extended weekend. But too many families across America, including our own Gold Star mom, Natalie, Council Vice President Natalie Ruggieri, on the loss of her son, has a much different meaning to her and her family. Memorial Day is was intended for Americans to spend time remembering our military members that gave their lives serving our country. These men and women made the ultimate sacrifice. Some of these men and women were killed in combat or training. Some even have taken their own lives. Due to trauma from combat that they couldn't escape. Just because a war may be over for some, the battle continues on for those men and women who are equally deserving of our honor. These men and women never got to see their children grow up, or never became a father, mother, husband, wife, or grandparent. They gave up everything for our country. We owe them a debt that we can never repay. All we can do is remember them, honor them, and to make sure we always be their voice, because they no longer have a voice. So today and every day forward, we must make it our duty to remind the next generations what Memorial Day truly means. We must be their voice, so long as we shall live. May God bless our past, present, and until we have peace on earth, our future fallen servicemen and women. At this time, I would ask for everyone to rise in a moment of silence to honor our fallen heroes. Thank you. Council President, if removing history was easy, I'm sure we would forget days like D-Day, Vietnam War, 9/11, but we can't, nor should we. We learn from our history, whether it was good or bad. When I took office, I said I would fix the problems of the past that may haunt us today, whether it was to fix a spiteful ordinance or just work on changing how we do business in Vernon. So today I have asked council to restore the Vernon Historical Preservation Commission. This commission was decommissioned by the council president at the time back in 2021. And this was obviously some kind of spiteful tactic and made public, and it was also made public about it. And that they had an issue with the chairwoman. So to silence people, they decommissioned the commission together. This action put Vernon's history in jeopardy and must be restored immediately. I want to be clear, this is about Vernon's history. And that's all I care about. And so several months ago, I have asked Ms. Palladini to join the commission because like her or not, she is one person who knows Vernon Township history better than most, but she has since declined. We are several months into the new year, but we must restore the commission and ask anyone who would like to join, please do so on our website or contact my office. We are also accepting applications for the Arts Advisory Committee. Before I go into the Arts Advisory Committee, there was some language that was missing in the historical preservation ordinance. So we're actually tabling it. I asked for you guys to table it for now. We could put it on for the next council meeting. But until we get that language put back in, if you guys don't mind. So anyway, back to the Arts Advisory Committee, which I believe we have already received 1 or 2 applications. Just in case you didn't know, the Arts Advisory addresses ways to provide visual and performing cultural activities for Vernon. The committee will strive to strengthen partnerships among schools, arts, and community organizations to enhance arts education and arts participation for all Vernon citizens. This committee consists of 7 to 9 members appointed by the mayor, with each member serving a one-year term. I want to be clear because I know there's been some people out there who have been spewing, and when I mean spewing, it means it's a lie. It's basically vomit. When you volunteer for Vernon, you're not volunteering for the mayor. You're volunteering because you love your community and you want to serve your community. So I want that to be very clear. This kind of garbage that gets spewed out is, it doesn't help our community, and it's unfortunate that people want to see me fail, but seeing me fail, if I fail, Vernon fails, and I don't think if you love your town that much, I would ask that we do things the proper way and not to spew out things like that. That really is not true and serves no purpose. Anyway, back to that. I have been pushing a lot to try to get into the mindset, to get people into the mindset that we need to start acting like a close community. And it has been widely accepted and refreshing to see this for a change. We've all seen this between the Board of Ed and my administration, which is why when asked if there was any grants, bonding options available for one of our firehouses, I've asked Danelle to look into it and see what we could do for our local heroes. And after talking with our bond counselors, they have advised us that we can offer this assistance. Remember, this is a bond loan that gets paid back to Vernon at a 5% interest rate. And just as an FYI, I didn't even want the 5% interest back, but it is required by law. So we must charge the 5% interest, which is basically the same as if we left it in the bank, we would collect the 5%. This is the result of a supportive council and a staff willing to go above and beyond to help. This has been my mission, and we will continue to help and build relationships in our community. I also want to thank the citizens of Vernon, especially the Highland Lakes community. I loved hearing and seeing the overwhelming support towards the fire department, because it's things like that that make our community proud, and especially our volunteers. And I know these comments that are out there, they see it, and I know it makes me proud. Onto business. Today, the council is asked to pass the 2024 budget, or I guess the amended portion of it. I want to remind people that, you know, we worked hard on this budget, and with a 0% increase for the third year in a row, which was not recommended by our CFO and auditors. Please understand that it is the CFO's job to manage, you know, the town's finances, and it's my obligation to make sure that the services are provided to our community and to the people that need them. So when we first produced that budget, I believe even Mr. Higgins even said it was a good budget. And I think after that, I think we removed about 1.8 million from the cap plan. So we've done even some initial cutbacks and cleaned up a lot of stuff that we didn't need, or maybe we didn't need it this year, maybe next year, or something won't go back next year. It's a lot. It was a lot of work, and you know, I'm proud to see, you know, the staff really pulled it together, and we got this done. One of the things that was on the budget, which was a school grant, I put the $50,000 school grant in because the after-school buses was something that people have said that they wanted, they needed it back. Now, we did this grant because, and we thought it was a good tool that we could use. And I was working with the Board of Ed. This was not something that I just came up and said, I want to do this, and then I want to find out how many kids are using this bus. This is something that I worked with the Board of Ed, that we were going to do some data analysis to determine, you know, how many kids were using it, how many buses do we need or don't need, locations, et cetera, et cetera. And then if not many kids were taking it, that would have been a good way to go back to the people and say, look, no one's using these buses, and that's $130,000 a year that we could save. So at this point, we're not going to know that now, or maybe the Board of Ed will do it now, especially since they are. I guess there's some budget changes happening now, so I think it was widely supported. But excuse me, I am bouncing all my originally saved document didn't save when I closed my laptop, so I do apologize. So again, this is something that we may not always agree, council and I may not always agree on everything. And this was one of those times. And, I'm not going to allow this to ruin our relationship that I have with council because of two reasons. The first, I think most of us are like-minded, we're a like-minded group. And the second, it doesn't help Vernon if we don't work together. We've seen this in the past. So I don't want to repeat bad history in Vernon. Example, the other day, Pat and I had an argument, and he abruptly left my office. And the following day, we were down at Schoomer inhaling crap. So I guess we could say we've been in together. So we learned a lot. We got to visit the Vernon Treatment Center, which is pretty state of the art, I like to think. I think we learned a lot on what the legacy system was doing and what the new system does. So it was good to kind of get a real good look, and I was going to say feel, but we didn't touch anything, but we smelled it. But anyway, so that's for the Schoomer stuff. But also just want a little heads up, we have an agreement from our attorney on the water expansion project, which is for our town center and Bryan Homes. So we're fine tuning that. I think I sent you guys a copy, but we'll get the finalized copy to you guys before we sign off on anything. So I want you guys to all look at it and then we'll send it through. All right.
Thank you.
That will happen this week. So, this week, as you know, so yeah, my original copy didn't save, so. I think, so another thing you guys will see out there is, there's been signs put out there for no littering. You know, I've had the DPW out there cleaning up, especially with Breakneck, we hit Breakneck and they spent the entire day cleaning up. And it's a lot of garbage that's out there. So, you know, fines are up to $1,000 if you are littering. And there is imprisonment as well. And those fines can go to third offense, and up to 180 days in prison. So, you know, we're taking it very seriously. But one of the things that I've found, or at least people are finding, is there's a lot of beer cans and alcohol bottles. This is troubling. I have reached out to the chief and hopefully this week, we're going to start looking at some drinking and driving initiatives that we could do in our town. Because I'm not going to wait for a family or someone to get hurt, killed. I'm not waiting for that to happen. So we'll take whatever actions we can to protect the citizens of this town. So that's, again, like I said, I apologize. My original copy didn't save. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. May I have a motion to open the floor to the public on agenda items only? There's a period limited to 3 minutes per person. May I have a
I'll make that motion.
motion made by Mrs. Bucieri? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sparta. He was louder.
That's fine. Closer.
Closer. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. If you have a question or comment for the council, please come to the podium and
Hi, good evening, Steve Dunlop. I don't know if this microphone is just not working.
See, it was,
Yeah, it was
it's
hard to
picking
hear.
you up, but it wasn't picking Anthony up.
For what the mayor said, we've talked about this forever, about these speakers.
I'm sorry, it's working. I think the mayor just wasn't close enough to it.
I apologize.
I can hear it now, but I sure didn't, I heard about half of what he said.
that wasn't on the agenda.
No, it wasn't. Briefly, because I'm getting ready to go to the school board and watch him take another $4.4 million out of our pocket. Resolution 24.
That isn't on our agenda either.
24-162, the live streaming and the participation.
Right.
A couple meetings ago, it was discussed, Mr. Sparta brought it up about the AI and people just putting their names up as opposed to their faces up. And I had no problem with that. I agreed. I thought it was important. We don't always look the best, but it made sense. And then there was further discussion, I think at the last meeting, about continuing meetings when we didn't have access to the internet, which happened a couple of times. I remember you and I were here last year, sitting around at 7:30 at night, waiting to get internet access. So all that made sense. You're going to have the lawyer look into it, maybe change some wording to make it where they can continue with the meeting without. And then I go online and look at the agenda and it says just to completely cut out public participation if you're not present. That wasn't what the discussion was. I have some ideas as to why people would want to go that way. I know you made some comments that were for the most part appropriate, but maybe some things were said that shouldn't have been said as far as trying to restrict what people could talk about. There are people that, even Mr. McClackery, I think I'm one person that can say his name properly, makes some valid points sometimes when he calls in. There's old people. Sometimes they can't come out at night. Sometimes they're out of town. They want to participate. They have something to say. 2024, I don't know why we would want to stop it. I would say what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're not going to allow citizens to participate, I don't know the council members should be participating if you can't be here present. I know Natalie's done it. I know you've done it. I know Brad's done it. I know Jessica's done it. Bill called in from Florida. I think it should be discussed more. This wasn't the discussion that we had over the last 2 or 3 meetings. This just came out of left field. I partially understand why, and there's times when I roll my eyes when
Have 30 seconds.
when certain people call in. But I think we should really consider to give the citizenry the same opportunities that we would give the council if the council wasn't able to be here. That's my comments for tonight. I did have some questions for Danelle, but she's not here. Hopefully they'll be addressed. There's some,
Excuse me, if you want to address, you have questions, then those are questions are addressed to me.
well, there's some bills list items and it can wait. They've already been paid, so it's kind of a moot point anyway. Now I'm going to go to the Board of Ed, see what they have.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate what you all do. I really do.
Thank you.
I think you all know that.
I'll try to keep it 3 minutes. Good evening. My name is George Nikonoroff, and I live in the Sussex portion of Vernon, New Jersey. As there are many topics to address here, I have chosen to focus on one tonight, and thus I am here to talk in favor of Resolution 24-162 regarding live streaming of Vernon Township Council meetings. So first, as you can see, I made the effort to attend this meeting in person tonight. And the reason why is because I deem this, along with the resolutions outlined, as important to the township. However, my remarks have nothing to do with personal preference between being in person or virtual. I'm here to talk about the potential security risks, costs, and precedents in reference to virtual meetings. Coming from 25 years of marketing and technology experience, I am no stranger to the bulletins that come out every day. So the first point I would like to outline to you is the inherent security issues with the Zoom platform. As recently as February of 2024, Zoom had to address what looked to be a long-term issue with their desktop client, which would allow unauthorized users to conduct the escalation of privileges via network access. Had they not patched this vulnerability, what that would have spelled for the township would have been a potential cybersecurity breach of township meetings and even potentially any information stored on network servers. This is just one of many issues with the platform, which also comes back to identifying the issue of identifying attendees as the town clerk outlined in the last meeting. In essence, there is no way to vet people watching the stream on Zoom, thus no real way to know who is speaking. In addition, there are many other options available to live stream a township meeting directly to YouTube, which will eliminate the need for a Zoom license, thus reducing your budget expenditures. The second item I'd like to outline to you is the inherent risk of artificial intelligence when it comes to virtual public comments. Today, anyone can download a virtual voice or camera application to their computer or phone and train it to impersonate anyone. Voice AI, for example, is a solution that functions on a collection of sound bites from individuals and uses a concept called machine learning, where the more you feed the AI application, the better the application can replicate your voice.
With 30 seconds.
You then set up voice AI as a virtual microphone on a platform Zoom and then sign in. The third I'd like to outline is precedents. Before COVID, residents came in to comment on council comments and business and watched it virtually. It makes sense for Vernon Township to go back to that policy, as many other townships have gone back to that policy. With that said, I hope what I've outlined you will take into consideration. I understand I might have repeated myself from the previous meeting, but I wanted to make sure that I was clearly audible in person regarding my concerns and not cut off by a cell phone due to poor cell phone connections.
Thank you.
For your time.
Is there anyone else wishing to address the council?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Lane, live up on X Court. I really wasn't going to address council, But something George just said, I don't know if he didn't have enough time to complete it or it just wasn't something he was going to say. But I would encourage all of you, if you don't already know or don't believe it, to do a little bit of digging into this artificial intelligence type of person or personality hijacking kind of thing, or impersonating kind of thing. My husband writes custom software and he has since the 60s. And he's done a lot of government work, Air Force, a lot. Therefore, we have, or I have, seen things that the average people haven't seen yet and will be seeing soon. I didn't really believe when my husband told me essentially what George was saying. I took the time in the last week and a half to upload video footage and photographs of my dead father, because it's the person I felt nobody would be able to fake me on. I also fed into the program pretty much everything I have of his voice. Let's just say I'm still having nightmares because the program replicated my father talking to me, and he died in January 15, 2016. It's real, it's terrifying. And there is no way, like if you're sitting here looking or something, there's no way you know. Please go look at it for yourselves. I mean, I could give you people copies, but none of you knew my dad, so it wouldn't help. I'm just telling you, it's terrifying. I wasn't really going to talk about it either because I'm a little bit antsy about talking about the dead. But I think it's important.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Is there anyone else? Do we have anyone online?
Ochams 2.
Sorry,
Ochams.
Champs too?
Yep.
Yeah, how you doing? First name is well, actually it's McClackery and it's Thomas. Three quick comments. First off, I disagree with the CFO a lot of times, and apparently I'm going to do it again tonight. But before I get to that, I'd just like to apologize to the mayor because I really didn't get most of what he was talking about. And the people have gotten up since haven't been very clear either. Having said that, my three things are this. Bans, as you know, are bond anticipation notes. They last 3 years. I sure wish the CFO would follow that state regulation. The second thing I have to talk about is in the ordinance for bonding of $2+ million, you roll 1 year's worth of interest. Actually, you roll $168,000 of interest into the bond, but you can only do that for 6 months of the year pursuant to statute 40A2-20. So again, I disagree with the CFO on that one. And as to the grant writer, here again, the state regulations say you can only issue contracts for 2 years with an extension of 1 year onto that. So that's 3 years. Here you have a grant writer you're going to issue a 5-year contract to, and there's no top. There's no limit to how much you're going to spend per year on this. All you get is how much they're going to charge per hour, and that's about it. Very vague, to say the least. And again, you can't issue or approve contracts for 5 years. It's against the law. And having said that, you also have to look at cost benefits of all this. I mean, if they're gonna go out and get a grant for $5,000, but you paid them 10, it's just not gonna work. I mean, it may work for the politicians, but
You
not,
have 30 seconds.
beg pardon?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay.
Yes, that's what you have to speak left in your allotted time.
Oh, I thought that was like a movie over Tokyo or something.
No.
Okay. That's about what I had to say. And another grand plus for a $700,000 increase in the town budget because of a special contract that nobody knew about, even though the CFO is for the township and the MUA, but nobody knew about that. I mean, it doesn't speak well for financial management. Having said that, as always, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I don't have any other hands up.
Seeing no one else wishing to come forward or speak to the council, may I have a motion to close the floor to the public? Move.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Di Benedetto, is seconded by Mr. Sparta. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All members, council have received copies of the bills. If you have any questions on that, you can address them.
And now on the call?
She's not, but
Oh, okay.
we have our business administrator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
She isn't.
No, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, you are. Great. Okay.
I am, yep.
I just had a question about the Clean Communities tax 61831 for $750. So we paid that to the Board of Ed. So what are they using? What is that used for?
Those are for, so for scheduled cleanups, so you might have a group of individuals. I'd have to check with DPW exactly who was there for that day, but they schedule cleanups at different locations. And they can,
Oh,
apply to
that's
the town.
the donation. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So like a group does it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make I have a quick question and then make a comment. The 61,817, the 345,195.74 to the library tax, we pay that quarterly towards the Sussex County Library System?
Yes.
Okay, which I think public libraries are great, so I just wanted our taxpayers to hear that every quarter we pay over $345,000 to our library system. So I hope if you're not a user of the library, please use the library. There's great resources and it is in your taxes and we're paying for it, so.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for Danelle. On 61,748, paying $4,000 for actuarial consulting services. For what?
I want to bring it up for a second, hold on.
Sorry, could you
We're
run
requi- we're-
Just bringing it up.
We're required to have certain reports for the state of New Jersey for the audit. It has to do with all the accumulated absences and calculations of potential liability. That's why we have to use an actuary for that.
That's a requirement from the state then.
For the audit, correct?
Okay. Second question on 61750. It really has to do with the general question. We're approving $68,000 for pumping station 2 replacement. Is that town money? Is that MUA money? Whose money is it? How does it work is really my question. You're in the CFO for both. And is the town approving the MUA funds because we're bonding it and they can't? How does it work?
So that's kind of a big question. So let me go through it a little bit at a time. So the MUA was established to not be able to take out any debt, right? So the MUA doesn't own any assets. All of the assets are owned by the township, the entire sewer system, the pump stations, the pipes in the ground. So because of that, they cannot take out debt even if they had wanted to. They have no assets to back it up. Because of that, anything that needs to be done to the system, and since the system is owned by the township takes out the debt for those improvements. However, those payments are eventually paid back by the MUA.
They're paid
So
back
for
by
pump
the MUA.
station two, but for pump station two specifically, that will be paid back by Mountain Creek. So the funding runs through the township. So the bond ordinance for pump station two was passed a few years ago, for that replacement. Even though Mountain Creek is gonna pay for it, the township takes out the bond ordinance for it, and then all the funds are run through the township because the MUA can't have the funds run through it because the money is awarded to the township. And then the pump station is paid for through the township, and then once it is fully bonded with the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank, we'll have a bond payment schedule that Mountain Creek will be paying the township for.
Okay, so let's take a scenario where this council decides that it's a positive thing to sell the MUA. We get a buyer. Whose decision is that?
Okay, so we'll let you get you're talking about selling the assets. The sewer system, correct?
Yeah, if we decide to sell the sewer system, whose decision is it to do that?
So that would be a township council decision, but it would need to include a lot of financial discussions.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be overridden by the MUA.
No, the MUA operates it. The MUA doesn't own it.
Okay, and the people that operate the MUA, how many paid employees are in there?
3.
3, and they were the people that were at the MUA meeting we had.
They're the commissioners, not the employees.
Okay, now I think I have a fuller understanding of the MUA. Thank you very much. Another question has to do with fire departments. Who owns the fire department buildings?
Is that a question? Is that a question for me?
Yes, well, 61789 has money going to McAfee Fire Department, reimbursed monthly $6,477. So obviously the town benefits greatly from the volunteers. Everybody appreciates everything they do. I'm just wondering, similar question I have with the MEA, who owns the actual buildings?
Township.
The buildings are not owned by the township. The buildings themselves.
I'm
and the
sorry, on the
property-
fire departments, they're owned by the fire departments.
And
Correct.
who owns the fire department? There's a board of directors, there's an individual. How's it work?
The fire departments are allotted a certain amount of money every year.
Who are they that own the building?
The fire department owns the building.
And who's the fire department?
Well, they have a charter as a particular company. That, whether it be Highland Lakes, Vernon or McAfee, they have an established charter as a fire department.
Right, so if the group of firefighters, as a group, decide to sell one of those buildings, they could do it.
Yeah, that's right.
They could do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm,
But, you know,
I don't understand the process here because we're funding something that we don't own and we're getting a great service in return. I want to know the legalities. of it.
yeah, as a matter of fact, the fire department owns its own building in certain areas, and they also own certain property that they were able to purchase along Route 94. And there had been a consideration, I believe, at some point that they were going to change locations.
Oh, by the library.
But that was up to them, not up to the council, and they haven't done it yet. But
Right, and another reason I'm asking is the Glenwood Pochuck Ambulance Squad was actually chartered underneath McAfee Fire Department, from my understanding. And it's now part of the Vernon Ambulance Squad.
Mhm.
Did the McAfee Fire Department okay that, or was that never asked to them?
about the ambulance squad
Yes.
being chartered to,
It was my understanding it was chartered underneath the
Combined, the ambulance squad's all combined. Is that what you mean, Bill?
yeah, now it's combined, so it was chartered and owned by one of the fire departments, apparently, like Glenwood Pochuck.
well, I don't know if they
Somebody.
own I don't know if they own the ambulance squad, but they, you know, I think they may own the rigs. And the rigs are
Town owns all the rigs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
do they?
Fire apparatus,
I'm not sure.
fire trucks, I believe everything is owned by the
Town-
township. Just the buildings are owned.
So we provide support for them.
So the town owns a rig that's sitting in a building owned by someone else, and then we provide that support. And the same thing with the ambulance squad. Because there's a lot in here with monies for MUAs, for fire departments, for everything. I'd just like to know who's who.
Mhm.
Not a bad question to ask, because there's obviously misunderstanding even on the people up here.
Yeah.
Okay, Natalie already hit on the library tax. That is just at $345,000 for a quarter. So we're paying a million,
0.2 over, yeah.
billion for library. And hopefully we get. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
No,
Oh,
I know.
I thought you-
We got up with it,
I
yeah.
thought you-
Sorry, no.
Anyone else? No? We'll move on. Approval of minutes. All council members have received copies of the minutes of May 13th. Our special joint meeting, MUA, Township Council. May 13th regular meeting and the May 14th special emergency meeting. May I have a motion to place May 13, 2024 special joint meeting on the floor for consideration?
I'll move that.
Moved by Mrs. Bucieri, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sparta. Any questions or comments, deletions? Additions? Not, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Bucieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins?
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. And for the regular meeting of May 13th, may I have that motion to put on the floor?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Di Benedetto, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Higgins. Any changes, deletions, additions? Not, may I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Bucieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins?
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And for our special emergency meeting on May 14th, may I have a motion to place that on the
Moved.
consideration? Moved by Mr. Sparta, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Any questions, comments, or deletions on that? Now I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Councilmember Bucieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins?
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Evening, we have the public hearing on our 2024 municipal budget amendment. May I have a motion to place that amendment on the floor and open it to the public comments?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins, is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. There's anyone wishing to address the council on the amended budget?
Hi, I'm Erin Crum. I'm the CEO of Vernon Emergency Medical Services. I'm here tonight just to see if you had questions for us. I think you were alluding to some questions, so we can talk after about the buildings or whether we received permission from the fire department, which we did not need, but if you have questions about what our line items in the budget are going to, I'm happy to speak to you about that.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone online wishing to address the council on the amended budget?
I have Mr. McClackery.
Mr. McClackery?
Yeah, hi, are we talking about the 700,000 that you added for the MUA? Is that amendment to the budget? And that's what I'm gonna talk about. And again, I'd like to stress, I don't see why that you had to be dragged down there 24 hours after you adopted the budget to then adjust the budget for something that was supposedly an emergency. But to be quite honest, I don't see it, and it was never expressed what the emergency contract was, which would have been beneficial to any discussion or any logical decision of the public would make on this. It just, to me, it just, as I said before, does not bode well for the financial management to have an emergency session 24 hours after you adopt the budget and put 700,000 into that budget. Having said that, you have to wait 2 weeks after introduction of the municipal budget before you can approve it. And since you amended it, does that mean you have to come back and then approve the budget 2 weeks after the amendment?
I don't think you are totally correct. Business administrator, if you want to comment on that, or our CFO. But the issue that we faced was that once the budget was not approved, there was not enough money in the existing temporary budget where we could fund an appropriation for a payment to SCUMA, not the MUA. There's a difference. This went to the Sussex County Municipal Utilities Authority, not to Vernon MUA. So we had to approve that particular appropriation for additional funds so that we could pay that particular bill that had been appropriated for SCUMA. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Our budget was not adopted that night.
That's exactly it. So I don't know why you're saying that we didn't do anything. We couldn't. There wasn't enough money in that budget for that appropriation. So that's why we had to come. And there was a time commitment on meeting that particular amount of money to be sent to SCUMA. That's why we had to meet here at 5 o'clock and have that special emergency meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you've had that contract with them for the last, I don't know, 10 years, actually 15 years. It must have been a surprise that they had dates in there that you had to pay them.
Not at all, Mr. McClackery. The dates are always there, but they are predicated, excuse me, they are predicated on whether or not the council will meet and approve the budget. If for some reason the council feels that the budget is not acceptable, we cannot approve it.
I think we're,
Regardless of what date is in there, we had to have an appropriations meeting. That's all.
we're saying the same thing. My
Not really.
point is, this should have been known before you had to come back. I mean, it was known because, as I said, the contract's been there for 15 years. 15 years, and you knew how much was in the budget and the temporary budget. That's it. I mean, we could discuss it all night, but I think.
Mr. McClackery, it was a function that the budget was not approved on Monday night. So if the budget was approved on Monday night, we would not have to have met for that emergency appropriation. But since the budget was not approved, Therefore, in the temporary budget that was set months prior, that money was not in there because that temporary budget was set thinking that the budget would be approved by a certain time. Since that budget was not approved at that time, that's why we had to have the emergency meeting. If that payment did not have to occur until after this meeting, we could have done that at this meeting, but since the budget will hopefully be approved tonight, it wouldn't have had to occur. It was solely a function of the budget not being approved at the May 13th meeting or whatever that was. You keep on commenting that the $700,000 was added into the budget. It was not added into the budget. That's not what the purpose of that meeting was. The purpose of that meeting was an emergency appropriations so the funds could be paid to SCUMA in a timely manner.
Thank you. And again, I disagree. You just didn't have enough buffer in the temporary budget. So that's my point. And your point, you're making the same point. So I think we can agree on that. The CFO was not looking forward that there may be, just may be, something that happens that you have to have a buffer in the temporary budget. A buffer of $700,000.
You have 10 seconds left.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you. Is there what else online?
I have no other hands up.
Okay, seeing no one else, may I have a motion to close the
Move.
floor?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Sparta, seconded by Mrs. De Benedetto. All signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. May I have a motion? To adopt the 2024 municipal budget.
Mr. President, you need to do a
Is there?
motion first on the amendment. So there needs to be a motion to,
I'm sorry, I have it right here. May I have a motion to have place the amendment on the 2024 municipal budget on the floor for consideration?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye, roll call.
Sure, we have roll call vote.
Roll call.
Roll call.
This is
Too important?
yes, this is to amend, this is to say that you want to amend the budget as discussed at the last meeting.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Bucieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins?
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes, thought I could speak that one.
Motion
Yeah.
carries.
Now you can vote on the budget as amended. So now this would be the final budget vote.
Right, and can I need to read, resolution 24-163. Record for,
Okay.
did I do that now?
Yeah.
No, okay. Be it resolved by council members of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, hereby adopted and shall constitute an appropriation for the purpose of the sums therein set forth as appropriations and authorization of the amount of $18,882,454.47 for municipal purposes.
Hey.
Okay.
May I have that? May I have a motion to place that on the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Higgins. Are there any questions or comments from the council on this?
They're better not they.
If not, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Councilmember Bucieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins?
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Going to our consent agenda. You see any issues that you'd like to have separated, please. My attention and do so.
Can I ask questions without separating them? Okay, then I can.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask questions about separating.
Resolution 24-153, refund for totally disabled veteran, Block 8, Lot 3, solar. Resolution 24-154, refund overpayment due to state tax court judgment, Jennifer R. Jacobus, Block 541, Lot 48. Resolution 24-155, resolution requesting authorization to purchase 5 cardiac science automatic external defibrillators, AEDs, from the Newton Medical Center Foundation. Continuation, resolution 24-156, continuation of the Art Advisory Committee. Resolution 24-157, chapter 159, resolution requesting approval of revenue and appropriation amending the 2024 budget as a revenue and appropriation of $202,000. Resolution 24-158, authorizing issuance of estimated property tax bills. Resolution 24-159, resolution of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, authorizing the procuring of telephonic communication system, service, software, and hardware through competitive contracting process. Resolution 24-160, a resolution of the Township of Vernon authorizing the award of CC number 5-24 Grant Writer Services vendor through competitive contracting process. Resolution 24-161, authorizing change order number 2 for PS number 2, PCO number 5, pressure reducing valve. Resolution 24-162, a resolution regarding the live streaming of Vernon Township Council meetings. Would anyone like to have any particular resolution separated, or do you have any questions on it?
I have questions on 24-160,
Okay,
the grant writing service. I thought we were going with a monthly subscription vendor.
Yeah,
What happened?
yeah.
This is the same Millennium Group, the one that charged, so we pay a monthly subscription and $150 an hour?
We pay, well, yeah, we pay,
A yearly.
Yeah, the 4,800.
right, well, that's the 400, right, every.
Okay.
And then it's 150 if we, an hour, if we, when grants come to us, so if we want to do to get us up at zero cost, can assist, but anytime we ask them to assist, $150 an hour.
Okay.
Keep in mind, when we went out, and I'm not gonna name companies, but there was a bunch of companies that were not even in New Jersey. And a lot of them required $40,000 to $50,000 deposit, and that's without anything. This company, same company that bought them, and has a tremendous track record of getting a lot of money. We have proof to that, so we're extremely happy to go this route, because there's a lot of money out there that we are missing, that we can collect. Also, if there's a grant that we want, they will tell us whether or not we would even get it or not before wasting our time. They will also say, you say this is a grant we want, and they say, well, yes, you can get that grant, you probably qualify. They would tell us how many hours it would be. They'll take 10 hours for us to do this grant. And that's how they pay. Before they even touch it, they will tell you how much it's going to cost. And they do not take any kind of commission after that, so you get the full amount. It's truly is a win-win-win-win.
Yeah, I heard somebody in the comments mention, well, why we pay them $40,000 to get a $30,000 grant, and they did build that into here that we won't pay more than the grant is worth. The wording I questioned, which I think you might have just answered, but it says, Millennium reserves the right to reject any project support request made by the township at any time for any reason.
I'm sorry.
It's under the fee schedule for service 5, and service 5 is the grant writing, that $150 an hour, the project support for that.
You want to just, I'll come back to you on that, oh, Mike? Is there anything else anyone else says?
That was my only question for that.
In terms of grants, also to do with this, might not be with Millennium. Are there matching funds that have been budgeted for if we get grants? Typically, there are matching funds.
Some of them are, and we would know that right off the bat.
You would know before you,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
okay, yeah, because I had the same concern as Jessica. It seems open-ended to me.
Yeah.
This 150 an hour just seems the way it's worded. It's,
I believe we can even cancel at any time too. We do, yeah, was it a 5-year contract we did? We do a 5-year contract. This way, you know, we don't have to go through all this again after. They're just at any time.
so we've had some success.
with the statute?
It may be in there. I thought that would Brad or
I think the one answer to the question about the, being able to turn down or projects, since that's added on. So in other words, if all of a sudden we came back and said, we want you to help, they've identified a grant as part of the normal service, we say, we'd like your help. The way I understand that language would be like anything else, right? If they don't have the manpower at that time to assist, they could come back and say, hey, this, you've identified a grant, but it's due tomorrow and we can't drop everything to help you because you're requesting that on a short notice. That's how I read that in terms of, because there's really 2 services you're getting here, right? You're getting
Right.
one, which is that monthly helping identify, the other one is specific projects. So I kind of looked at it, I read it in some way similar to like, I don't want to say like an attorney, it's not exactly the same thing, but theoretically, right, there could be a project where you guys come to me and say, oh, we need you to do this. And I could say, look, I don't have, we need a special counsel for that. I can't, it's outside the scope of what I'm good at doing, or, we need to get some additional help. That's how I read it, as kind of saying, I'm giving themselves an out to make sure that they don't get stuck, being told on
They would-
24 hours notice.
would
that
almost
have
be
to
in
do
brief.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, that's setting them up. So that's how I took it, as like their CYA of, hey, you can ask us to do stuff, but we're not obligated to take any specific projects. Just because you asked us, we're not.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think I understood that when Anthony said it. I just feel like any time for any reason is a bit broad.
Probably written by their lawyer, who make sure you give them every outlet you could possibly
Yes.
get for that.
So as per the mayor's comment, Sparta uses this service. I guess you're aware then, is there our grants versus theirs? Have they quadrupled ours, doubled ours, or we don't know, or?
I haven't done, an analysis on that. I know, like this came up with, the police chief. That's where we learned of this company, when we addressed it. But there is something.
There's a list
There's a list of,
in the packet that you received that shows all of the towns in the state of New Jersey that actually uses this company.
yeah,
And they use, they have the other, New York,
And they-
Pennsylvania,
they even
so.
break it down to county. How much they.
Quite a few.
Well,
Okay, thank you.
In terms of comment that was brought up by a resident, that we are in violation of a statute by extending the contract for over 3 years. Is that correct?
I'm not aware off the top of my head. I don't want to, say it's statute quote where that's accurate or not. As a general matter, what I will tell you is that, so first of all, competitive, I should back up, not to make this overly complicated, but competitive contracting is a little bit different than, some of the other services. It's a way of getting bids, but it's more specific about what you're looking for. So it's got its own set of rules. As a general matter, municipalities can't enter into contracts indefinitely. because there's a general public policy that says we don't want to tie the hands of future governing bodies, because
Mhm.
hey, maybe sure you're all gonna be here for a very long time, but if you weren't for one reason or another, if a future council came back and said, well, we don't want to do this, the public policy that says you can't put in attorneys that you like
Right.
indefinitely or
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
So, I think that, from a practical standpoint, I believe, I wasn't able to locate while I was sitting here. I do believe there's a provision that allows you to get out at any time and you can cancel. I think the goal was to try to lock in the pricing that says, essentially, if you use them for 5 years, they're guaranteeing certain pricing over that time because it's beneficial to you and to them to do that. If, if it came time in 3 years from now, you said, we don't want to do this anymore, and they said, well, you have a contract for 5 years, I don't believe that would be sustainable. I don't think a court would uphold
Mhm.
them trying to enforce a 5-year contract against you.
Thank you.
And you got references from some of these towns?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions on these resolutions? No? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
On 159, Tina? For the bid that you're soliciting?
Telecommunications.
Yes. This is a comprehensive telephone communication. Has this already been out on BidNet?
No,
Okay,
no, you have to approve it and then it'll be sent out.
okay, that's right. When I read it, I thought it was already stating that it's out on BidNet, that we haven't approved it yet.
No, if it's approved, it'll be sent out within the next couple of days.
Okay, and this is separate from any police department communications? Or are they included?
This would be included with it.
It's inclusive?
And the
Yes.
dispatch center and DPW, animal control as well.
The only thing that would not would be 911. Right.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Half the time we try to call and it's like beep, 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 waiting for an open line. It's pretty,
So may I have are there any other questions? No? If this is on the floor as a motion, may I have a roll call, please?
I don't,
Yeah, there wasn't, I think we.
Make a motion.
Motion in a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion.
Moved, I'm sorry, Mrs. Bucieri,
Second.
second by Mr. Sparta. Now is when we would normally start talking about it. You guys are always jumping the gun.
That's me, I'm sorry.
May I have a roll call, please?
yes. Councilmember Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins.
This is for all the resolutions, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought we were gonna have a separate vote on, say, 24-162
I asked, but nobody
Asked,
wanted.
but-
streaming.
I asked.
You would have pulled it out.
We can pull it out now if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd like to pull it out. I'd like
Which one?
separate, 162 on the live streaming.
Okay.
Sorry, Mercy.
Motion and second, Matt, is that okay?
Yeah, that's.
Okay, okay.
Don't need to overly complicate.
Let's start over, please.
Yes,
Roll call, please.
okay. Without 160.
Without 162.
Councilmember Bucieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins?
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto?
Yes.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to place 24-162 on the floor for consideration?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins,
Second?
seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. This is a point of information. Asking that it be placed on the floor kind of ties you to a positive vote on that particular issue.
Yeah, just moves.
Yes,
it.
It doesn't?
doesn't. It does. It's in Robert's rules. But if you'd like to,
I'd like to rescind that motion. Somebody else?
Yeah, I guess I gotta resend as well.
Okay, is that it?
Well, then I don't second it.
Can we get a ruling from our attorney on that?
Yeah, I'm not, I don't wanna. Council President, I'm sure is always right. I don't know that he's wrong here. I have not heard that though. I have seen instances where somebody has put something, they wanna have a vote, so they move it and second it for purposes of having a vote. I do think from a practical standpoint though, that if there's not three other people who are going to move it, then it becomes somewhat academic because
Right, but it was,
someone's gotta move. If it's gonna pass, someone has to move and second it. So if there's not three other votes, then it's kind of
or
academic.
two other.
Two other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else seconded it, so it's a possibility. So, being on many boards with Board of Education, I've never heard that either, Mr. Rizzuto.
Well, the boards of education are never run by Robert's Rules of Order.
Well, you were the president for years.
Oh, that was there. They,
So,
may I have a motion to
So-
place this on the floor for consideration?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
Moved
it.
by Mrs. Bucieri, seconded by Mr. Sparta. Are there any questions or comments now on this motion?
yeah, I have comments. The audience, from Mr. Dunlap, Mr. Crackley, outstanding comments, valid concerns, council members, CFOs, town members being able to use the service, the artificial intelligence, for the number of people that we have calling in. I can't think of one person who's called in that we don't know who they are. And it would just make simple sense to me that they have to put their camera on. And we have to know who they are. If a council member is out of town, then just like when Joe Tadrick was out of town, we always saw Joe, he was speaking. Pretty simple solution. And if some alien comes down and steals everybody's face, then I would be one to say, let's reconsider it. But it really got people that have trouble driving at night, snowstorms, whatever. And residents have the right. So, I'll be not in favor of enforcing it.
Anyone else?
Can we require people to put their cameras on if they want to make public comment? I know we talked about this briefly.
Everybody has a camera.
I think that's
Right,
the issue.
that was the issue.
That's the issue was,
Camera.
then we're
Everybody has a camera on their computer or.
Not everybody knows
No.
how to change the name of their
then you're limiting
Zoom,
them from speaking then. I think that was the hangup that I had.
I think the issue brought to our attention about Mrs. Blaine, about people fabricating voice communication, sobered me on this. And I hadn't even considered that. My concern on this is that the expense that we've been incurring because of corporations coming in and requiring us to provide some, information and using this, but I think the AI kind of outweighs this. And I know Mr. Sparta was going to give us a presentation, but we haven't been able to set it up. So I think that was my major concern.
Council President, I just want to say that I believe in our ordinance, it does say that the council is allowed to call in. That's in our ordinance.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's two separate, I mean, to the extent that the council wants to change its policy on council members calling into meetings. That's while I understand there could be some similarities of arguments in favor, opposed, everything else, it is two different separate provisions. Right now, you can call in, I think it's limited to twice a year. There's some limitations on it. It's limited to twice a year. You can't just call in every meeting. And I don't remember off the top of my head if there's more restrictions, but if the council wants to address that issue, that can be done separately through amending your ordinance, if you just choose to address it. This resolution does not restrict or expand the rights of council members as they currently exist in your ordinance.
Any other comments? Ms. Boucher,
Roll call vote.
roll call?
You ready? Okay.
Roll call.
Councilmember Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
No,
Councilmember Higgins,
No,
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Introduction of ordinances. Ordinance amending chapter 5, article 16, the municipal code of the township of Vernon. May I have a motion?
This is the ordinance that we're gonna table.
Table?
Yeah, this is for the grants. We just have to get the wordings.
Thank you. So this I'll withdraw my requests. This will be placed on the agenda for another.
Yes, the next meeting.
Please, get your applications for it though.
All right. 24 days away. An ordinance, capital ordinance providing for the various improvements by the township of Vernon and the county of Sussex, New Jersey. Appropriating therefore the sum of 160,000 and providing that such sum be appropriated shall be raised from the general capital reserves and the capital improvement fund of the township. May I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Benedetto. Is there a second?
Second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Fucci. Roll call vote, please.
Comments?
Normally don't comment, but if you wish.
I just want to know what fire department it says for the fire department and department administration. Is it specific to a fire department or
This is for,
be shared and shared equally?
this I believe is for Highland Lakes. Am I right?
Which one is this for? Yes.
24,
2408 is,
It's for,
all of them?
yes, general reserves and capital improvement fund.
Are there any other questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bushieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins.
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
President Rizzuto.
Yes. Ordinance 2410. The introduction of bond ordinance appropriating $3,483,624 and authorizing the issuance of $2,220,000 for various improvements of purposes authorized to be undertaken by the township of Vernon and the county of Sussex, New
I'll
Jersey.
handle it.
May I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
I'll make that motion, but you just need to go back to the 09 after that because you skipped.
Did I do something?
You just
Oh, you're
skipped.
reading 2410. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. We can do it out of order.
All right.
You already read it all, so I'll make that motion.
Thank you for, thank you.
Okay.
2409, a bond ordinance providing the improvement of the Highland Lakes, there we go, Fire Department, building in and by the township of Vernon in the county of Sussex, New Jersey, appropriating $105,750, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of 100,000 in bonds or notes of the township for financing such appropriation. May I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Thank you.
This one's Highland Lake still.
Yes. Right. This is the one on Highland Lakes, right? Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bushieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins.
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 24-10, a bond ordinance appropriating $3,483,624 and authorizing the issuance of $2,220,000 for various improvements of purposes authorized to be undertaken by the township of Vernon and the county of Sussex, New Jersey. May I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
Moved.
2410.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second?
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bushieri?
Yes.
Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins?
Yes.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes.
Council President Reed?
Yes. Public comment? May I have a motion to open the floor for public comment on any item? This is limited to 5 minutes on any topic. May I have a motion, please?
Move.
Moved by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Floor is open to the public for discussion or comment on questions on any item. If you would make a comment.
Good evening, George O'Connor again, and I'd like to thank you for passing the virtual Zoom ordinance. I'd like to directly address Councilmember Higgins.
No,
That's not proper.
you address me, please.
I'd like to address a remark that was made regarding cameras and security when it comes to artificial intelligence. Bottom line is that while you might have 15 people, 50 or 100, it only takes one to compromise your meeting. And by doing this, you secured your network, your servers and everything like that. So thank you very much for passing.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Anybody online?
Yes. Mr. McClackery?
Mr. McClackery. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Hold on a second, Mr. Rizzuto. Okay, first off, I'd just like the people, the council people who voted no on 162 are correct. You may not like the public commenting on what you're doing, but you ought to be open to as much public comment as you can get. Frequently, we hear that you met somebody in a back aisle of Acme and they told you that, you know, spending 18 million is great. Well, you know, that's just hearsay. But when somebody gets on public comment, gives you their name, then that's the public, and the public knows what that person is saying, not what the guy in Acme is saying, because I've heard that one numerous times. Having said that, I'd just like to say this. Frequently people have the opinion that some politicians, not you folks, some politicians have a relationship with the truth, which is ephemeral at best. And as I said, it has nothing to do with you. But that's the standard that you're going against. And you folks have to up your game to meet that, to get across your opinion and convince the public that politicians are worth listening to. And if you cut out the public, which is what you're doing here, it's silly. And, you know, I'm not the type of person that would say, if I ever met a politician that was saying the truth, the ceiling, the plaster on the ceiling would fall down in the Sistine Chapel. I've met a lot of honest politicians, people that want to do good. But what you're doing here is not good on 162. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have no other hands up.
I'm sorry?
No other hands.
Seeing no one else coming before the council, may I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Moved.
Can I?
By Mr. Higgins? Oh,
Sorry. I have a question about the grant writing. Coming from the ambulance squad, oh, sorry, my name is Erin Crum, the CEO for VEMS. We have brought up previously wanting to use grant writing services. I haven't reviewed the entire proposal of this, but does it include use by local volunteer agencies, or is it limited to township only operations?
I think that's an operational matter. I think you'd have to address.
I believe that that portal is open to allow.
So like if you decided that they could,
His
We
office.
can do
Okay.
EMS and we can do fire, we can do
okay, okay, thank you.
and education too.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry, Council President, I wasn't at first going to say anything. My name is Brian Lynch, and I think most of you know me. And there is a ordinance here, 2409. And this is something that's never happened before in Vernon Township, where the township offered a bond to the fire department to help them with their renovations. Now, what had happened here is that I went to the bank to try to get loans to do this. Provident Bank is our bank, and they were in the process of buying the Sussex County Bank. Since we are a 501 corporation, we needed to have a commercial loan. And that needed to have a title search done and everything else, and these fees are exorbitant. It made it almost impossible for us to get a loan. I had come down and spoke with Donnell, and Donnell said that I didn't even ask for the bond. I asked if we were able to get a grant. And she says, let me talk to bond counsel and let me see what he says. The only people that are doing the paying here is the Highland Lakes Fire Department. The town is getting back their money and they're getting back the interest. Because Joey the Lip in Jersey City, who is the guy that lends money on the side, wants even more money than the bank, so we can't go to him either. But I do thank you all for introducing this ordinance, and I hope it comes to a great conclusion. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? No? Seeing no one else come forward, I ask for a motion to close the floor to the public.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Council comments. Mr. Higgins.
Yes, I have a few, as usual. Being new, it's like ending the fifth month. There's a lot that has come up in a lot of the meetings. Try to sit and listen and learning a lot. A lot of times you ask questions and nobody really knows the answer, such as who owns
The fire department.
the fire, department, who owns the sewer. These are important questions. So I'm just going to add to that list. There was a lawsuit that we lost to SCUMA. I think it was a $40,000 pay that we had to pay a fine. Has that been paid? Is it on the books? Does
No.
anybody know what's going to happen to that?
It's a $40,000 fine,
You mean?
You lost lawsuit and to
legal fees,
SCUMA.
the legal fees you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not, you have to have a judge order us to pay those fees. We've never been ordered to pay fees.
And if we are ordered, does the town pay it or does the MUA pay it, or do we back the MUA on everything?
I would think it's probably gonna be the township since they were the ones who actually took them to court.
Suit.
But don't hold me to that. But again, we're getting these things from school, we're constantly getting invoices. They have nothing on them. We just, $6,000 for services. Like the bill just went up
From who?
from SCUMA.
Oh, from SCUMA.
Yeah, and like I said, we haven't been ordered to pay legal fees.
If you're attorney.
I have to get back to you. That lawsuit's not something that occurred prior to my time being here. It has not crossed my desk since I've been counsel.
Uh-huh.
So if there's, I'll get back to you. If there's anything new on it, I'm not aware of it. And if it's prior, it hasn't come up. I'll look into it and
Yeah, prior to my time, I mean.
yeah, I'll look into it, Councilman, and if there's any issues, I can.
Right, so, I mean, the way it normally works, right, so you there's a lawsuit that goes on.
Yeah.
You have to request, right, for your legal fees to be paid.
Yeah, yeah.
It has to be ordered by a judge, correct?
Yeah, in most instances, the general rule is that each side pays their own attorneys. Whether you win or lose, the basic rule is each side pays their own attorneys. There are certain instances where there's fee shifting. And usually it's because there's a certain statute that says, you know, under like an Oprah case as an example, right? And if somebody brings an Oprah case, it's like, you know, the current law, and they're successful, the statute says they get fees. If it's just a basic dispute, contract dispute, you know, debate between two parties on whatever the topic is, each side pays its own fees, barring there being a statute that says you shift it, or if it's like a contract dispute and the contract says, you know, if you've contracted to shift fees, that's it. So those would be the situations where there would be fee shifting. And a judge would have to order that as part of the order to say, based on this statute, based on this contract, you have to pay fees, and there's a process for determining how much the fee, are the fees reasonable, or there's a secondary phase then.
Another question has to do with the MUA meeting. I sat here and listened to people explain how the fee structure is designed, EDUs. So if I own a home with 3 bedrooms, somebody owns one with 2, I pay more. And I'm just sitting here saying, why wouldn't it be calculated on usage instead of EDUs? You could have a house sitting here for 11 months, used for one month out of the year for a recreational summer home, and pay on 3-bedroom use with no usage.
They don't have meters. House meters are extremely expensive, I believe. I guess Council President can.
When the MUA was instituted, it was done on the basis of using EDUs. Now, people seem to think that these EDUs are calculated out of air or by our MUA. Actually, these EDUs come from from Trenton through the establishment in the DEP, and also in the county relationship to what their fees are. So it's not just 2 bedrooms or more than 3, even though they are, but even a house with one toilet may not necessarily be 1 EDU, it might be less. It depends upon the flow, the anticipated flow, and what's being put into it. So
Is there any discussion ever taken up on cost of meters and putting meters
I
in?
think the problem is it's well water too. Because I think a lot of the times if it's city water, it's easy. It's water in, water out, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But they're mostly a lot of the home wells.
Yeah, okay. Lastly, on LoSAP, we passed it merged the ambulance squads together. It's been about 5 months. One of the overall goals, we're double goal. One was to say to the people who were actually performing the service, thank you very much. You deserve some money for it. You deserve some compensation. And the other half of it was to attract new members. So at a future meeting, I was wondering if you could come up and make a little presentation on what you're trying to do to attract new members. That was the overall goal. Just see where we go. Okay, thank you for that. And that does it for me.
that was a great question. They're always looking for for new members, and I think that's an excellent question. Keep our eyes on this. Or anything else we could do to assist them in getting new members. So,
Thanks, man.
Mrs. Di Benedetto.
Just a question, is it always 30 degrees in here? During this warmer days?
Politicians with the hot air, you gotta keep it down lower, so it's.
But not the air conditioning. How much money are we spending on this air conditioning?
It's always cold and that mic.
I'm just gonna tell you, if we complain, we will be sweating.
It's usually hot in here,
So,
Jessica, so
you have
it is
one-
cold, but I'd rather be.
One or
cold than
the other.
sweating.
Window unit, 2
Yeah.
window AC units right behind you.
No,
They're not even on.
no, not on.
No,
No.
yeah, but we won't be.
I mean, that's how hot it is in here sometimes. We have to put them on.
And if we can't have them on during the meeting because they're too loud.
Yeah.
So we either freeze or we sweat. So bring a jacket next time. That's all I'm gonna say, because I don't want to sweat.
No, I don't want to sweat either.
Mr. Sparta.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned about the water infrastructure funding resolution. I got halfway through it before the meeting tonight. There is a few whereases up from the now therefore. It says the borough and not the township. All the others say township, so if we can, I just don't want it to get passed and then have that in there. No, it was obviously
I'm sorry.
it's three up from 1, 2, 3 up from the now therefore.
But what's the number? I'm sorry.
It's the water infrastructure
Okay.
funding that Mr. Mayor sent to us earlier today.
Oh, I didn't see. that.
Oh,
Okay,
oh, that.
that's not on the agenda.
No, the one that you sent us.
Okay.
It's not on the agenda. It's,
Just before it gets all finalized, if somebody.
Yeah, that was, again, that was a draft.
Yeah, I know. That's why I thought of, that's all.
I know what you're talking about. Like, I didn't.
Mrs. Butcher?
no more, no comments.
And I have no comment either, so we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Mrs. Bucieri. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sparta. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Everything.
For 8:30, but we